Alrighty guys, as you can bring us into the Dragon Ball Legends ToP guide video, right? This is going to be pertaining to ToP Season 32. At the end of Season 31, we did close out the season at around 2,300 and something, right? That would lead us into the top cut right there. We did secure our 1,000 CC, all of that good stuff, right? And so before we hop into this video, right, there will always be timestamps in the description down below. The first thing we are going to be talking about is our pathing. Alright, so this is the path that we're going to be working for this season specifically. As always, those circled fights are going to be the most important fights. That's where you're going to be able to get the most points, right? The most bang for your buck. And these paths are always loosely based, right? The circled fights, not as likely, right? The circled fights usually stay the same. They remain the same. I always try to land on those circled fights, but the fights leading up to those, right, the ones that are not circled right here, just in the general path, sometimes they do change just due to just other complications. Like if I personally feel like my units can't survive some of these regular fights, then I'll go ahead and change the pathing a little bit, as long as I do know that I can still end up at those circled fights overall. Alright, so next we're going to talk about map awareness, or like the tips and tricks section, right? So coming into this board, there is Sun family everywhere, and that's usually the case, right? That's usually the case, but seriously, it's like almost every other fight right here, right? Sun family is probably one of the most annoying teams to face off against, and this is probably one of the most difficult boards we have ever had, right? Sun family is just absolutely running rampant right here, absolutely unchecked, and as per usual, you are 100% going to need high key restore speed units in order to take on this fight. The key to having high key restore speed units on your own team is through friendship rank, right? You got to make sure to farm all your main ToP units to friendship rank 10, since that is where it caps out, and we'll give you an example of this. Alright, so I do have my blue Zenkai 21 pulled up right here, right? She is at friendship rank 10, as you can see right here. If we scroll down, her key restore speed is at a whopping 2,655. That's pretty good, right? But this is with the ToP stats, right? Because the friendship rank only affects the ToP stats specifically. When we look at the regular stats, right, we're going to scroll down right here. It is at key restore speed 2,529. That is a very noticeable difference right there, right? So you do want to go ahead and make sure you farm up all that friendship rank. Obviously, do your let's fights. I think that's the easiest way to get that friendship rank up. So my typical attack order for Sun family is the Taunt Gohan first, right? And the reason why we call him Taunt Gohan is because he has that buff effect where he takes all the aggro for that very first turn of the fight, meaning that all your units have no choice but to focus him first. So I say screw it, might as well just focus him down all the way, especially with someone like Boo Tanks on my team that I usually run, right? He gets the super attack off, I can usually get through him. And then second of all, I go for the Transforming Goten. He can get the super attack at the start of turn 2. And then after that, for the third unit I go for is the Kaioken Goku, who can get the super attack at the start of turn 3. So those are the main 3 units I like going for. After that, it's pretty much up to you. I usually like going for purple units and so forth, right? But be cautious, sometimes there is Android 18 on here, and she does provide debuffs to the top row and middle tile of your own layout. And what I mean by this is she debuffs essentially this tile, this tile, this tile, and then the tile that we do see the 21 on, this blue 21 right here, right? And this is the exact debuff that she inflicts you with, right? Minus 15% to damage inflicted and plus 15% to damage received, which is that's a pretty substantial buff, I would say, right? And it may look a little bit weird right here because it looks like it's going to be on the bottom tiles, right? The bottom tiles and then the middle slot, right? But you have to look at it this is from her POV specifically, right? Because this would be technically your POV and then the enemy's POV, but obviously when she's the enemy, it's going to be reversed, right? So you would essentially have to flip this over, and that would be your top slots in your middle slot. So this season is especially cancerous. The reason why I call it one of the most difficult boards, or one of the most difficult seasons, is because Sun family has decided to take it a step further and make it even more difficult on us with the addition of transforming Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, right? He has high key restore speed and gets a guaranteed blue card at the start of turn 2, just like the Transforming Goten. This is especially tedious when he's paired with that Taunt Gohan, so I'd probably just recommend avoiding this fight if possible. Alright, so that being said, these are the key restore speeds of said units, and so you're going to have to reach a higher amount than this to go ahead and attack before them. Right, so Goten is going to be sitting at 2,620 key restore speed. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken is going to be sitting at 2,794. And the Kaioken Goku is going to be sitting at 2,669. That is all of those units having extremely high key restore speeds, right? So it's very annoying overall. The only other fight that is in her path that was somewhat concerning to me is a quadruple green android setup alongside 2 reds. Once again, I would prioritize the red 18 due to her debuffs, and then right after her, I would honestly just go for red super 13 as well, since he can get his super attack at the start of turn 3. You do have some leeway to go ahead and just dwindle him down, but at the same time, if two android allies die, then he gets like a 50% damage inflicted buff. You don't want him to get that, right? You don't want him to get that, so I would probably target both of those units back to back. And then I usually save 16 for last due to his death buffs, but also be very cautious of his ability to self-destruct once he goes below 15% HP. This fight will definitely suck for us because I really only bring one dedicated purple on my teams, and there's also a lot of other mechanics at play right here, right? Because the 16, he has a cover change against blast cards, right? And it has no health restrictions on it. So if you hit like whoever he's cover changing, whoever he is in range of with the blast card, usually it's this red 18 right here, he's going to jump in. He's going to jump in and he's going to cover change against it. The super 17 right here, he can eat blast based attacks, right? He can nullify them. And the super 13, he possesses a strike cover change, but it does have a health restriction on it of 30% or lower. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about the newest character, Ultra Super Vegito. So we're going to hop into this blind right here as per usual, right? We're going to go ahead and just take a look at this ToP stats. We'll display maximum stats right here. He's only at Friendship Rank 2, right? He does possess 2,509, so that could probably jump up about 100 or so, right, with Friendship Rank 10. That's pretty solid, I would say. That's pretty solid. That's the first thing I like to look at when it comes to the stats for these ToP units, or well, when we're looking at ToP specifically, right? He does have an ultimate and stuff like that, so let's take a look at the actual passives that he possesses. Ultimate Warrior of Hope, 70% to damage inflicted, minus 25% to damage received, and he applies buff effects, nullifies attribute downgrades, nullifies abnormal conditions. Right, that's pretty solid. End of second, it just keeps going too, right? This is still the first passive. End of second turn, activate special action, right? He uses his green card. At plus 30% to damage inflicted for 2 turns, cannot be cancelled, and minus 10% to damage received. So he's already getting, by turn 2, he's already getting 100% to damage inflicted, essentially a minus 35% cut, right? And then on a strike or blast arts attack, multi-target, you get 30 to your own key recovery, plus 30 to your own key recovery, cannot be cancelled, and you inflict all enemies with attribute downgrade plus 10% to damage received. So he's giving himself buffs, and he's also debuffing the enemy, which is pretty good overall. And then he has, oh my god, Stronger Together. Before receiving a blast arts attack, he activates counter and inflicts damage to the enemy. That's pretty good, right? That's exactly what he does in PvP and stuff like that, right? The damage from this attack cannot cause the enemy to be defeated. I feel like I understand why they do that in PvP, but in ToP, I feel like it should allow them to be defeated, honestly. And before receiving a strike arts attack, health is 30% or lower. Allies in range, he performs a cover change and nullifies an attack. I've said this before, but I'm not a fan of these passives, right? Especially when there's a health restriction on it, right? It would be a lot more OP if there was no health restriction on it, but at the same time, I guess it's better. It's better because if we're fighting the Super Vegito line, he didn't have a health restriction, and just always guaranteeing that cover change would be annoying. So, and then after receiving an attack, he gets 30 to his key recovery. So another key recovery buff, activates 3 times, cannot be cancelled, and he gets 15% to special move gauge, activates 3 times. That's not bad, honestly. I think that's pretty solid. I'm surprised there's no healing right here, though, right? Because he does get healing in PvP and stuff. Alright, now let's go and take a look at his Ultra ability. Oh my god, bro. That's why these Ultras are ridiculous. Right, at the start of the battle, for all allies, right, the entire board essentially, 5% to strike damage inflicted. That's not bad. And at the start of the battle, per allied tag Fusion Warrior, he gives it to himself, 5% to damage inflicted, and +5 to key. Dude, he's really good. Obviously, he wants to be ran on Fusion Warriors. You're going to have 6 members on that team. That's like 30% to damage inflicted, 30% to key recovery, right? Or +30 to key recovery, not 30%, my bad. And after receiving an attack, own health is 50% or lower. He does heal. He does have a heal. He restores health by 4%, activates 1 time, and you upgrade your special move arts to the ultimate, activates 1 time. Dude, if Fusion Warriors was an actually good team, we would see this man everywhere. Unfortunately for us, Fusion Warriors kind of sucks because all your best Fusion Warriors are like low tier. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about the best teams. For the first team, the team that we are going to be using for this season is Regeneration. And the good news for us, none of our units from last season got demoted, so we can literally keep the exact same setup because it worked really well, right? And I was thinking about adding another purple here, specifically for that androids fight that I was talking about earlier, right, where there's 4 greens on it. But making a change to the entire lineup for essentially a single fight didn't really sit right with me. Plus, of course, there is some of those Sun family fights where it's going to be very difficult to face off against with the double yellows and stuff like that. Although I could just put them on bench. I just didn't really want to add another purple right here. If I were to add another purple here, though, it would be the Zenkai Purple 21, who is in Z tier as well. And notably, this green Zenkai Piccolo could also be very valuable here since he does possess the ability to cover change against special moves, right? For the 2 spaces above him or below him, right? You can just apply it to whoever you want to protect the most, but this does not guarantee he will get the cover change off due to you not necessarily knowing exactly who the enemy will super attack, right? On your own lineup right here, right? That's why you see the team on the right hand side. He's actually running the Zenkai Piccolo right here, and he just has him in range of that baby. So where this guy has the Piccolo at, that's where he would be cover changing right here, right? So if, for example, if I put this Piccolo in place of the purple Janemba right here and I click on him, he's going to be covering those 2 tiles specifically below him where the blue 21 and the Boo tanks are at, right? So I would essentially be just protecting them, right? Just making sure that those 2 units specifically don't get super attacked. Or better yet, if I really want to just cover 1 unit, right? Like for example, if I just wanted to absolutely make sure that Boo tanks did not get super attacked, I could do it like this as well to ensure that he will only cover change for Boo tanks. Alright, so for the next team, there's no sugarcoating it, right? And there always was no sugarcoating it when I would talk about this team, right? I don't really put too much effort into the dissection of this team. Is that Sun family? We got Sun family, right? And Sun family is the best option here. And the gap between this team and the others is massive, especially this time around, right? The current ranked 1 is running both the Goten and the Transforming Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, the same team that is probably the most annoying team on the board this season, right? And you have to remember that the AI, or the enemy, right, runs their units at Friendship Rank 0. So even if you get into a mirror match scenario, one thing is certain, as long as your Goten has Friendship Rank on him, like I only have Friendship Rank 6, right, then my Goten would definitely attack before the enemy Goten right here, right? There's really, if you have the 3 main units for this team, right, which is Goten, this is what I consider Sun family, right? If you're running Goten, right, the Transforming Goten, if you're running the Taunt Gohan and you're running the Kaioken Goku, that's Sun family. Like, you literally just need those 3 units, and everyone else is almost insignificant, right? As long as everyone else is playing somewhat of a role, you're gonna be more than fine, right? Like right here, that green Namek Goku, that's his healer, right? So that's the healer role right there, right? But we've also seen other units in that healer role, like the red 18, and then you have just more damage, right? With the Kid Goku, the red one, and then the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, that's just more damage right there. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing for the Kaioken Goku as well, though, right? The blue Kaioken Goku. But as long as everyone else is just fulfilling some sort of role, you can pretty much use whatever units you want. Alright, so next I have to go with androids. Specifically, I have to mention the setup that Bob Saget used, as he finished in rank 2 for last season, right? So Gamma 2 and Red 18 both being healers, as well as Zenkai 21 being able to heal other 21 units, right? Because they're transforming warriors. It gives you all the sustain that you need here. Plus the fact that all these units are Z tier and boast so much synergy is insane. Super 13 also gets a guaranteed blue card at the start of turn 3, so there's just a lot of good stuff going on right here. My My only concern this season specifically is with key restore speed, right? But you can see right here, the lineup that I am portraying right here, they do have good key restore speed, right? Like Zenkai 21 has good key restore speed, free to play Red 21, the 17, even the Super 13. I don't even have this guy at friendship rank 10, right? He's at friendship rank 6 right here at 2,579. Plus, you have to keep in mind he does buff his own key recovery, right? At the second turn, he gets plus 60 to his key recovery, so that problem kind of like alleviates itself right here, especially with this setup. The only two units that are really going to be slacking on the team that I have right here, in terms of key recovery at least, not even really slacking because they're still fulfilling a role, right, is that the 16, the Zenkai 16, he's only at 2,554, and then the tag droids are only at 2,319, but they seem to be doing just fine, right? Here is another team from this specific season's leaderboard at rank 10 with droids as well. You can see they also stacked up on the greens and the reds right here, with the exception of bringing the purple 21 here, which is a good choice. All right, so next we have GT, and I'm actually seeing a lot of GT teams take a step back and play it a bit more cautiously this season by adding Super Baby 2 to their roster, which is definitely a smart play. I basically always stroke the ego of the Super Baby 2, right, as like one of the best healers in the game, just period, point blank period, right? At the end of the turn, ally tag GT or regeneration in range, they get health restoration by 3%. This is every single turn. Plus 15% to damage inflicted for 1 turn, and plus 30% to health restoration for 2 turns. That only activates once, but still, that is a lot of great stuff right there. Once again, pretty much everyone here is Z tier, right? Especially, most notably, the Z tier Ultra Omega Shenron and multiple Zenkais. I think it's safe to say that GT mains will not be missing out on their 1000 CC. Interestingly enough, if anyone is brave to try it, GT also possesses a unit whom can cover change against special move arts in the form of EX Yellow Metal Rilda. That's who you see right here on my team, right? So before receiving a special move arts attack, allies in range performs a cover change and minus 40% to own damage received until opponent's attack ends, right? To the left and to the right of him. So if I pair him up right here in this specific spot, he's only going to be cover changing for this purple Goku, right? Which would be good. Like, say if I'm fighting that Sun Family fight with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, right, and Goten. If one of them gets their super attack off, right, and they decide to be absolute douches about it and they want to target my purple, Rilda would come in and save the day, right? So that's, I think he could also have value here. Alright, so lastly, we will go with LOE. They have been a very consistent team within ToP, and they will continue to be a consistent team. The only reason why I'm not necessarily a big fan of this team is because of the tag being somewhat lacking in units, right? Every unit right here is Z tier and stuff like that, but it's not a whole lot of units in general, right? And the amount of filler units that you have or replacement units is very scarce. It's very limited, right? Because there are a lot of units on here that straight up cannot be replaced. One of those being, I think the most important one being this Revival Frieza right here. There was a point in time, like before his release, where LOE was still shining, but I think at this point in time, they need this guy. I think you absolutely need this guy because this is also your healer, right? So I don't think this guy can be replaced. And since you do have multiple purples on this team, right, it's a little bit scary, especially with some of the Sun families that some of the Sun family fights that you do face against, right? It just sucks in that specific scenario too, because your highest key restore speed units are your purples, right? So it's a little bit difficult, right? Because you look at LF Purple Frieza, 3,000 a key restore speed, right? Purple Chilled, 2,700 key restore speed. But if they're attacking before Goten gets a super attack off, is that really going to be that much of an impact, right? Because it's going to be against type disadvantage. So once again, I still pose the question, like how exactly do you really go up against the Sun family fights here, right? Because I don't have a lot of experience with this team. I've never used this team in ToP, so I'm legitimately asking you guys, right? But I always see this team do well. I always see this team make its rounds on the leaderboards and stuff like that. So I guess it really just depends on if you're actually engaging in those Sun family fights or not. But as per usual, they do have great synergy with each other. That's something that I cannot deny. They have great synergy. I specifically love the combo of the purple Frieza and the red Frieza right here, right? Because they both can inflict can't attack on turn 1. They both hit you with the green card. So 2 of your opponents on turn 1 will not be able to attack, right? So you're only going to be getting hit by 4 units in that very first turn, which gives you room to just go ahead and kill off a units for the most part, right? But again, against Sun Family, when you have the blue Gohan just taunting, is it really that effective? I am not too sure. Alright, so I know we already went through the top 5 teams and stuff like that, but this one's going to just be like the honorable mention. We got my boy Battlemore, who is a fellow member of 5-9 Gaming, at rank 37, what presumably is Cabba's harem team. Right, so this team looks crazy, bro. It looks wonky to me. So right off rip, I can already tell you guys, like, the star players here is definitely going to be Red 18, right? Because she's a healer. Right? She's a very notable healer, right? Because her heal is unrestricted. Right? Doesn't matter what tag you're in, you're always going to be restoring health by 3% at the end of turn, as well as a damage inflicted buff. This Kale right here, I'm actually a big fan of this Kale. I think she's very slept on, right? Because of her cover change, right? She has a strike cover change that's unrestricted for health as well, right? So it doesn't matter what HP you are in. If your ally is going to be getting hit by strike arts, she'll come in and save the day. She can also heal herself as well. But these other units definitely do feel a little bit iffy to me. Like with Urine, I can see why you bring in Urine. Look at the debuffs that she actually provides right here. It's a lot of debuffs and stuff like that, and she can also start building up her own gauge by 30%. It is just funny to me how well this team is working out for battle right here. I don't necessarily recommend this team. It feels very niche, right? It's a very specific team right here. And, you know, in battle, obviously, he has red stars on his Urine and stuff like that. If you didn't have red stars on the Urine, I probably wouldn't recommend it at all. But it's cool to see a team like this right here in the top 100, right? Alright, so that being said, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for today's video. If you guys enjoy the content, definitely let me know by leaving a like, and maybe even consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the comment section down below. That way we can go ahead and just help out everyone in the community trying to get this 1000 CC, right? Everyone, that's the common goal right here. We all have the common ground. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later!